Hello and welcome to Micro Minute. My name's Marty Jobson and today I've got a special edition of the show for you. So what we're going to do today is we're going to be looking at a butterfly wing in super duper extra magnification, because I'm not going to use this machine here, wonderful though it is. I've teamed up with the lovely people at Zeiss, that side, and they have arranged for me to take control of a special type of microscope called a scanning electron microscope. And what that looks like is it looks like this. There it is, over there, okay? And this thing is, I mean, it's not here, it's remote. It is in Cambridgeshire and I'm in Yorkshire. But because this thing is essentially computer controlled, I can take control of it remotely. Now, let me show you how the setup I've got here. So this is the setup I've got, okay? So here's my secondary camera here. That's my microphone. Here's my laptop, which is running the show. And then over here is the output from the microscope itself. And then that's being sucked into here, which is then being squirted up onto the internet, and then hopefully you guys can see it up there. So let's get on with this. Let me show you how this beastie works. So what I need to do is I will turn that off so that we can all see exactly what's going on this microscope. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to move myself from here to over there. So I need to just adjust this. I'm going to go like that, and then I'm going to go like that, and then I'll reappear here, so that I'm not obscuring all the wonderful stuff that you can see down there. Now at the moment what you're seeing is the microscope stage, and what we have sitting on top of the stage, and it's just there, okay, right, underneath all these nozzles and these pointy things, is our specimen. Now this specimen is a piece of butterfly wing, and it's actually been coated in gold and palladium, okay, which is what you have to do when you're using an electron microscope, because it's not using light, it's using a beam of electrons. It's all a bit complicated. We'll not go into too much detail of that. So let's change to the actual view that you get through the microscope, and what I need to do is click on here and then click there like that, and hopefully that should, have I done it? No, I haven't done it properly. Oh. This is the bit, I'm not using a scroll mouse, which I probably should have got a scroll mouse. So here we go. This is what you see down an electron microscope. And first thing you notice this bar that's kind of scanning down like this. And that's because it's a scanning electron microscope. The beam of electrons isn't just sort of showing up the whole specimen, it's kind of being scanned across like this. So we got this scanning thing coming down. And the slower the scan, the better the picture. And the faster the scan, the quicker we get the image, but the rougher it is. So we have to sort of trade that off. Anyway, I'm going to put my specs on so I can see what's going on. So what we have here is actually quite a large magnification. We're only at about 35 times magnification. If you look here, you might be able to just about make out. Can you see there? That tells me what the magnification is at the moment. And down here, okay, sort of shows up a little bit when I wave over it. At the bottom down there, there's a scale bar. Now that scale bar is currently telling me that that bar is 700 micrometers long. So that's 0.7 millimeters. So we're already zoomed in quite a long way. But let's zoom in a little bit more. So all I need to do is I am just going to click on this and then click on that and then click on that, so that I can see what is going on. What we'll do is I'll zoom in a little bit. There's the zoom. The zoom is over here. Okay. All I need to do is click on that, and it zooms in. So I just go doink, and immediately it sort of zooms straight in, and you can start to see the detail of what's going on the surface of the butterfly's wing, and you can see all of these. Well, they're called scales because that's essentially what they are. These scales here. And the butterfly wing is coated in these, the whole of the butterfly wing. And this butterfly, by the way, was a cabbage white, just an ordinary white butterfly that died of natural causes, I should point out, and then has been turned gold-plated and put inside the microscope for us. But we can keep going in further, okay? So we'll click in, go in a bit further, and now we can start to see the scales in a bit more detail. And the closer you get to the scales, you begin to see that there's some detail on the scales themselves. Now, the scales are made of a material known as chitin, and that's what the surface of insects is built of. It's a bit like keratin, that's what makes up your hair and your fingernails, but it's actually quite significantly different because it's made of glucose units joined together, actually, more rather than a protein. And the insect produces these, the butterfly produces these, the whole wing is made out of chitin, and the scales grow on, and they've got little roots, and they grow on out of there. And if we go in even closer, you can see that as soon as you start to get really close, and look at the scale bar now at the bottom, down here, okay? Down here, at the bottom, down there, you can see that scale bar is telling me that bar is 40 micrometers. Now, a micrometer is 1,000th of a millimeter, so that's 40,000th of a millimeter. Now, a blood cell, if you remember from one of my previous episodes, I showed you a blood cell, which is about the smallest thing I've shown you to date. Now, they are 8 micrometers across, give or take. So we're already down to something that's only a couple of blood cells across, really. But we've got a lot further we can go with this machine. Let's zoom in a bit closer. And we get in a bit closer, and you can start to see that each of the scales, the individual scales, isn't just a flat sheet of chitin. There is detail in the scales. And in fact, there's an incredible amount of detail in the scales. We've got these amazing... Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to slow the image down so that we get... And you can immediately see you get better resolution as the image slows down. Okay. You can see here on the screen, okay, so here is one, from this side here to this side here is one scale. And the distance now, the scale bar, it's confusing to have two scales essentially, we've got the scale and the scale bar. Here, the scale bar, the diameter of this dot is basically the same diameter as a blood cell. It's about 8 microns across, if you sort of compare it to that. About a little bit bigger, in fact, than a blood cell. Okay, and you can see that the scale on the butterfly's wing is made up of these long stripes. Now, these stripes are called ridges, and they have little cross ribs, and you can see them across. But it'd be good if we could see them even closer, wouldn't it? So let's zoom in a bit further. We are only at the beginnings of what we can see with this machine. I'm going to speed it up again, okay, we zoom in a bit further. Well, let's keep going in a bit further. So now we can see in even more detail. Oops, I zoomed out. I meant to zoom in. I double clicked. Now we've got more detail. Slow it back down again so we can get some nice slow pictures. So now you can see these ridges really, really slowly. And look at the scale bar now. The size of my dot is now about 2 millionths of a meter, 2,000ths of a millimeter, okay, across. So these ridges are just a fraction of a millionth of a meter across. And even when you get in close, you can see there's even more detail in them. So the ridges here have what are known as cross ribs. And then if you look at the ridges themselves, if we go right in on one of those ridges, okay, let's go in on the ridge. Let's speed it up so that we can zoom about a bit more. If we go in on one of those ridges, and I'll just focus there, get that in the center, okay, and then slow it down nicely so that we can see a bit more detail. You can see the detail on the ridge. Now, we are now in the range of sub-micrometer microscopy. So we are now looking at things that are smaller than 1,000th of a millimeter. We are looking at something that is we're in the millionths of a millimeter. This is now unbelievably small. There is nothing I can compare this to that is small enough. A blood cell would completely fill this screen and then some. It would be like 10 times the width of this screen. But you can see here now, this is the ridge, and the ridge itself has what are called micro ribs on it. And these are they're sort of individual structures. Can you see there's sort of layers upon layers, which are called lamellae, and then you can see the cross ribs. And the interesting thing as well is you see these little blobs, Okay, and these little blobs here and here, these are called beads. And these beads, well, what they're for, we're not, I don't think we're really 100% sure. I dug about in some of the research this morning to try and find out more about the morphology of how a butterfly wing works. And basically, some butterfly wings have little beads like this in between the cross ribs when you get in really, really small. And some butterfly wings don't. Now, these type of butterfly wings, the sort of, which are generally white, they do have them, and it appears that what they're for is for scattering light. They might be full of a pigment which helps scatter the light, so any light that falls on the butterfly wing gets bounced off in all sorts of different directions by these little beads, and therefore it appears white because it's reflecting all the light that falls on it, not just one colour, which makes, so if you have a butterfly wing that looks, for example, red, that's because only red light is bouncing off it. And quite often the red pigments are in these ridges here rather than in the little beads, and they don't have any beads at all. Now, some butterfly wings have even crazier structures on the surface which cause them to appear metallic, and they sort of have a sort of a weird metallic iridescence. But we don't see this on butterfly wings like this. So, with this amazing piece of kit, we might as well go in a bit closer, seeing as I'm here. It would be rude not to, wouldn't it? Let's just zoom in a little bit closer. We'll speed it up. But we've now got to the sort of the limits of what is possible to see with this microscope. There isn't much more detail in here. You probably can go faster, and with tweaking and tuning, the guys over at Zeiss, Ken, who's set this all up for me, Ken, thank you very much for setting this all up for me. They have probably managed to get much better imagery out of this than my sort of fumblings around. But you can see, as I zoom back out again slowly, those are our ridges and all the little beads. And as I zoom out again, there you can see, now we can see multiple images. And now the size of my dot here is 1/1000th of a millimetre across. So this is 1/1000th of a millimetre. So these are structures that are smaller than any living thing. They are smaller than bacteria. They are smaller than cells. And we can zoom out a bit further, keep going back out like that, and then you could see. I think I'll end with it on that picture there. That's really nice there. Look at that. Doesn't that look good? If I turn the speed right down, I'll go down another layer, and we'll get a really fantastic picture built up. Right, that's all I've got time for. This has been the longest micro minute so far, but can you blame me? I've got this fantastic piece of kit to play with. Once again, thanks to the lovely people at Zeiss. Oh, I didn't move Zeiss. You could just about, if I peek around here, thanks to the nice people at Zeiss for letting me play with this kit and to sort this out. We'll try some other things under the scanning electron microscope, hopefully. But join me on Friday when I'll be part of the Global Science Show. Go on Twitter, find out more about it. There will be people all day doing stuff on Twitter live, and I'll be showing you. I think what I'm going to be doing is something completely different again with this bit of kit. I'll be doing some cross-polar microscopy, and I'll be looking at crystals for you, which is another gorgeous thing to look at. So thank you very much. That's all from me. We've shown you super high resolution stuff on the scanning electron microscope. Take care. Bye-bye.